What is going on, guys? BASSFZz here. And, yeah. It's time for another video response to the Young Turks. But really, this isn't so much as a video response to the Young Turks specifically, as an example of the shit I sometimes talk about on my channel, right? Now, I remember I was watching some documentaries on evolution, right? And I stumbled upon this video in particular, and I started to watch this video, right? And I could only make it like 3/4 of the way in because the shit pissed me off. And it didn't piss me off for the reasons why you might think it did. I'll explain exactly why videos like these, why people like these infuriate me, right? So, I'll give you the whole story. I'm watching this video, right? And basically what it is, the whole entire video is basically the Young Turks talking about how Republicans believe in the theory of evolution less than Democrats, as if they're the only two fucking parties that exist, right? As if Democrats and Republicans are not the same fucking party that masquerades as two different. No, because we're intelligent enough to understand the system. We understand that Republicans and Democrats are more or less the same fucking party, right? But whatever. That's another video for another time. So I'm watching this video, and they're talking about their statistics. I think you guys can go watch the whole video. Link in the description box below. But they talk about, again, they come to the conclusion that more Democrats believe in the theory of evolution, which is laughable to even say that, and I'll explain why in a second. But more Democrats believe in the theory of evolution than Republicans, right? So I want you guys to watch this clip. I'm going to talk about exactly why this shit infuriates me, right?
Discuss.
Well, part of the problem is that they have Republicans like Senator Brown from Georgia, who calls evolution and global warming lies from the pit of hell. So when they have leadership like that, it's no wonder that belief in evolution goes down. And let me just say something about evolution for a second. As a rational human being and as a person who believes in science, I find this lack of belief in evolution in American culture and society just shocking, appalling, disappointing, and unbelievable all around. In fact, I have a litmus test. If I meet someone and they say something along the lines of, I don't believe in evolution, done. I don't want to ever speak to that person ever again, because I don't have time to waste with a person who just doesn't believe in the rational world. I mean, that's literally saying something akin to, I don't believe in gravity. I think we are living on a flat surface and there's no gravity and we're just walking. The person just has no rational connection to reality.
People like that are fucking disgusting. The fucking level of arrogance that it takes to dismiss somebody because they don't feel the way you feel fucking disgusts me. It's fucking bullshit. It's bull. It really is. This guy said out of his mouth, if someone doesn't believe in the theory of evolution, done, right? So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what incredible things you can do. If you don't feel the way he feels, fuck it. Fuck it. I mean, like, just really think about that one for a second, right? So, like, let's say, Michaela Maroney. I love Michaela Maroney. I don't know if this is true or not, but let's say Michaela Maroney is a creationist. Let's just say she believes in God. Let's just say that. I don't know. I'm pretty sure she does, but I don't know. Let's just say she is a creationist, right? Now, Michaela Maroney can do some incredible things. She can vault like a fucking beast. She's strong as all hell, right? Probably has gone through some things in life we haven't, because she's a gymnast and she's been in the spotlight and all that goodness. So, even though she can do these incredible things, he's telling me that if Michaela Maroney comes up and tries to have an intelligent conversation where she's like, well, I don't think evolution really accounts for X, Y, and Z. He's like, done. Even though you're an Olympic silver medalist, even though you've won all these gold medals, fuck you. You don't feel the way I feel, all your accomplishments, whatever. I don't want to have nothing to do with you. Even though you're an incredible person, Miss Maroney, fuck you. Let's say some guy, it's going to be the Da Vinci of our time. Great painter. Fantastic painter. Incredible. can paint like a beast. Again, you mean to tell me that just because this guy thinks God created the world or some other theory, it doesn't even have to be God. It doesn't have to be creation. It can be panspermia. I think it's some theory. Some people say that like alien organisms like permeated the earth with the cells, and I don't know much about that. I just heard about it. But even still, fact remains, this guy who can paint incredible paints or incredible pieces of art, because he doesn't feel the way you feel, you don't want to have anything to do with him. And there are people like that in this world who are just so arrogant and just so far stuck up their own butts that they don't even take into account that there are so many things other people can offer to them. So many points of view, so many different lessons on life, so many different theories, so many different ideas can be influenced into them. But because they don't feel the way you feel, they suck. They're inferior. That's basically what he said. So let's listen to what Anna has to reply to that.
I don't know if it's a lack of rationality or if it's more about being ignorant.
So yeah, there you go. You're an ignorant person if you don't feel the way I feel. Now, look, listen guys, I took biology 1 and 2 in college. I've done a lot of independent research on the theory of evolution. Myself, outside of class, took lots of different tests and stuff on it. So I understand the theory of evolution pretty fucking well. I'm not ignorant. I get the process. I get everything scientists are saying, everything biologists are saying. I get all the genetics. I still just don't think it accounts for the creation of all life on this planet. I think, and one thing that I'm gonna do here is I'm going to explain my personal problems with the theory of evolution, right? You know, because honestly, you should be able to critique any scientific theory. You should technically be able to critique gravity. You should. Now, anyone and everyone will call you stupid if you do it, but you should. Because science itself is all about peer review. It's all about studying, finding your evidence, giving your reports to other scientists for them to also verify it too. So it's all about challenging each other. It's all about things. And then here's the thing. There have been so many times in science where people were just straight up wrong. Someone came up behind their research and proved them otherwise. You know, so many times in science has this happened. So you should be able to critique any scientific theory, honestly. But people in this day and age, they're so arrogant that if you even say, well, you know, I don't really think evolution is just a really good indicator, you go, oh, you're stupid, you're ignorant, you're dumb. You're not as smart as I am because I understand stuff. And it's fucking disgusting. So here are my problems with the theory of evolution. I hope you guys enjoyed this video because it's something much more important I want to talk about at the end of it. So stay tuned. Let's go. Alright, well, the first thing that we're going to have to discuss is obviously the theory itself. So now a lot of people, especially creationists and Christians and moral faggots, all like to say, you know, evolution is just a theory, you know, it's just a theory, it's not, you know, it's not fact-based. Excuse me. You know, it's just a theory. Well, no, that's not the way a theory works in science. In science, what a theory is an idea that accounts for the present state of all beings and is also a predictor model of things to come. So we say the theory of gravity. Gravity explains what holds all the planets together, what causes the Earth to revolve, what causes the Moon to stay in orbit. It's what explains why when I drop my glasses, or when it explains when I drop this these tweezers, it's gonna explain what happened. It explains why it sits on the table, because everything has a gravitational field and it's all at the same time collecting or forcing objects to stick to each other. So when I drop this, when no longer it's in my hand, the prediction model part of it, it's going to hit the ground or it's going to hit the table. So again, a theory explains why something is the way it is, and it is a predictor of things to come. That's what a scientific theory is, and theories always get backed up a lot throughout the course of its lifetime. Excuse me. So that's the first thing. So no, evolution is not just a theory in the sense that it's just a set of ideas that kind of make sense that you put together, but don't necessarily have to be true. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that just because it's not a theory that it's true. Because this is the first problem I have with evolution. A lot of people, especially people in the Young Turks, say a lot of people don't believe in the theory of evolution. Well, stupid, you don't believe in a fucking theory. You either accept it to be true or you don't. It's one or the other. You don't believe in a scientific theory. You don't have faith in a scientific theory. Either you think it's true or you think it's not. It's one or the other. That's my first problem with it. These guys talk about it like it's a religion. And we'll get into that towards the end of this video. So here are a couple of problems I have with evolution, because I understand how the theory works, and this is basically how it works in the most simplest format. Basically what happens is evolution is basically a change in alleles, and an allele is different types of genes, different types of genetic information. So an allele would be the different types of eye colors you could have: brown eyes, blue eyes, crystal blue eyes, sky blue eyes, hazel, green, all that goodness. That's what an allele is. Basically different types of genes. Well, different types of the same gene specifically. So basically evolution is just a change in these genes over a period of time. Right? So this is basically how it works. You have natural selection. And natural selection basically means survival of the fittest. Now, survival of the fittest doesn't mean the strongest creature in an habitat or the strongest creature in the ecosystem. It means a creature that has the ability to survive and reproduce. Natural selection is all about the best genes that are going to help an organism survive and keep going. That's basically what it's saying. So to give you an example of how this would work, let's say we're in the Arctic area. We have two types of foxes. We have about a goldish yellowish fox, and we have a closer to white fox, right? Not 100% white, but a little closer to white. Well, basically the white fox is going to be able to blend into the snow white environment a lot easier than the golden fox. So the Arctic wolves, which will be the predator, will find the fox, the golden fox, a lot more often and will be able to eat them because they can see them. They can't blend in. But the Arctic fox can. So since the Arctic fox can blend into the environment a lot easier, he survives more often than the golden fox. So the population of the white foxes is going to increase over time because they get to survive. The population of the golden foxes is going to decrease over time because they're being killed by all these different types of predators. That's basically how evolution works, right? Only traits that help an organism survive and reproduce get passed down. Only heritable traits. That's how natural selection works. That's the theory of evolution in a nutshell. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So natural selection is not the theory of evolution itself. It is literally the mechanism used in order to bring about the evolution of different species. So now, this is probably where one of my first contentions come from, because one thing you guys are going to have to realize is theory of evolution is pretty complex, and it is pretty difficult to really understand and even to really imagine, honestly, if you really think about it, like I do. Because when you look at it on first glance, you're going to notice that natural selection only works with the genetic material that's already in an organism, right? Now a lot of people are probably going to say, but wait, Zeus. I'm waiting. And you're going to reply, except you forgot to mention genetic mutations. Well, I'm about to mention it right now. My first problem with evolution is I really don't think that genetic mutations account for the complete change in an organism. Because again, really put some complex thought into that. Let's say we have an organism that mutates slightly. Most mutations are not beneficial. Most mutations actually decrease fitness and they die off relatively quickly. Very rarely is a genetic mutation ever something that helps an organism survive. You very rarely have any beneficial mutations. I remember I was reading an article the other day on beneficial mutations in humans. And one of them, I'll link the article below if I can find it again. But the whole essay, one of the examples the author used was one beneficial mutation in human beings is that the proteins that the AIDS virus used to attach to white blood cells is not there in some of those white blood cells. So AIDS and those people who lack that specific type of protein cannot get AIDS. However, they are more susceptible to getting West Nile virus. So it's a trade-off. Either you can not get AIDS or you can get West Nile virus. You can get West Nile virus and still get infected by AIDS. But since there's more of a higher chance of getting West Nile virus than AIDS, well, I mean, you take your pick, right? So it's not really, it's one or the other with this type of mutation. I don't really feel like that's not really beneficial. It's one or the other. So there aren't very many. I don't really even know any examples of any mutation that's beneficial. I'll have to do some more research into that. But yeah, and then even then, you still have to think about it. So let's say you do get one organism to have a beneficial mutation in a population. Well, that's just one, right? That's one. Even if you have, let's say you have snakes. I like using snakes. You have snakes, and let's say they get a second row of fangs, right? Just one. He just mutated, and he has twice as many fangs, right? Well, that's just one snake. Even if that one snake survives and he gets to reproduce, his genes are only going to be in that one specific litter of eggs. In order for evolution to work, the original species must either wither down or completely die off, right? It's really confusing, or not even confusing, but it's really hard to grasp the concept that like one mutation can, one, be beneficial, and two, it can account for the complete change over time for other species. Because again, it's only like 5 out of the thousands of organisms that already live that have this mutation. So you're telling me that these 5 organisms with this mutation are responsible for the evolution of an entire species? Sorry, it's hard to grasp that concept. That's why I feel like there's no way beneficial mutations, as rare as they are, can account. Even if you have millions of years, you still have to account for the mass death of the original species, or the transitional, which I guess technically every organism is in transition, but you'd have to account for that original species of animals to die off. So that's why I don't think mutations is a good indicator of that. Now, my next problem with evolution is one that no evolutionary biologist has ever been able to answer me. And I remember I went to an evolution seminar and asked this question, and I'll tell you that the reply I got after I'm done with the answer. So I'm gonna use all animals in general, but I'm going to use snakes. But one thing that I don't get is, how does an organism that needs a specific trait to survive prior to obtaining that trait? And then, right, so, like for example, like I said, I'm going to use snakes. So you have about 2 types of snakes. You have your non-venomous snakes, and you have your venomous snakes. And a lot of non-venomous snakes are constrictors. So it makes sense for a constrictor to either have venom or a snake to not have venom, because venom and constriction do the same thing, and that is they immobilize the prey. That's what they do. So it makes sense for a constrictor to be a constrictor, because you say that the bigger the constrictor was, the stronger they were, so they could wrap around bigger prey, eat them. The smaller constrictors died off, and evolution took place. That makes sense. But what about venom? Like, where does venom come from? And venom isn't only found in snakes, it's found in all types of animals. I've done a little bit of research, but I could never discover its origins, like where it came from. So venom in a snake can either be corrosive, meaning it breaks down the prey, or it can be a neurotoxin, which means it paralyzes the prey, one or the other. But a lot of things kind of have to have evolved in order for the snake to have the venom. Like, one, he'd have to have a place to keep the venom, a venom sac. 2, he'd have to have hollow fangs to administer the venom. And 3, he's going to have to be protected from his own venom. So my question is, if only traits that are heritable and increase in organism's fitness get passed down, where does venom come from? Because in order for venom to get passed down, a snake must already have to have venom. But venom is such a complex compound of different bacteria, different types of chemicals, that it doesn't make any sense for it to arise from chance. Even if you want to say, well, it probably, like, the answer I got was maybe the venom sacs were used for something else. Except, well, one species of snakes has venoms and the other does not have venom, but all snakes had to have come from the same snake. So how could one snake's saliva become a neurotoxin that is so specific in what it does, right? Because a neurotoxin, it paralyzes the prey. How does something that specific come about randomly or come about in some type of mutation? How could the saliva inside the snake somehow change itself to paralyze or become a neurotoxin or become corrosive? It doesn't make sense to me. I've been trying to figure this out, and I don't get it. That's another problem I have with evolution. Then you have the problem of speciation, right? So, one thing that a lot of creationists like to say, and they're kind of right in this, is that we don't ever really see a change in kind. Like, at all. We don't see new organisms coming. We see different species of the same organisms. Like, I saw a top 10 list of new species, or like new animals, and they were either like a bunch of frogs, or like snakes, or lizards, or something that we've already seen. Like, we already know what a lizard is. If we find a new lizard, it's still a reptile, it's still a lizard. But we've never seen anything like different, like something new or something that has evolved independently of other species. Now, this isn't to say that they don't exist and we just haven't found them. It's just that I've never seen them. I've never seen any new type of animal come up. Like a horse, even if it's a zebra, it's still a horse. You know, a cat, you may have different types of cats, but they're still cats. Different type of dogs are still dogs. You don't see any like new forms of animals arising anymore. Right? Now you might say, well, evolution is so gradual. You're probably thinking, well, Zerson, you and a whole bunch of creationists think of evolution in a bunch of jumps. Evolution is not a jump, it is a gradual change over time. And that's true, but even still, even as gradual as the change might be, we would still see independent changes in that timeline. If there are different species that are becoming different animals entirely, that process would still be going on. Which means to us, whether or not we've discovered evolution 200 years ago, to any type of species that's evolving, it's still been millions of years. So 200 years ago was still millions of years to any other animal, and yet we still only see the same type of animals all over the place. Now, this isn't to say they don't exist. This is just saying I haven't seen them, and I have a huge problem with that. How come we don't have like these six-legged mammals or anything like that? Not even necessarily six-legged, but just different forms of animals. We don't see that. They seem to be stuck in their form. So again, maybe you can show me something, but just from what I've seen in my research, I have not seen a new type of animal arise. Then you have the problem of speciation, right? So one thing that a lot of creationists like to say, and they're kind of right in this, is that we don't ever really see a change in kind. Like at all. We don't see new organisms coming. We see different species of the same organisms. Like I saw a top 10 list of new species or like new animals, and they were either like a bunch of frogs or like snakes or lizards or something that we've already seen. Like we already know what a lizard is. If we find a new lizard, it's still a reptile, it's still a lizard. But we've never seen anything like different, like something new or something that has evolved independently of other species. Now, this isn't to say that they don't exist and we just haven't found them. It's just that I've never seen them. I've never seen any new type of animal come up. Like a horse, even if it's a zebra, it's still a horse. You know, a cat, you may have different types of cats, but they're still cats. Different type of dogs are still dogs. You don't see any like new forms of animals arising anymore. Right? Now you might say, well, evolution is so gradual. You're probably thinking, well, Zerson, you and a whole bunch of creationists think of evolution in a bunch of jumps. Evolution is not a jump, it is a gradual change over time. And that's true, but even still, even as gradual as the change might be, we would still see independent changes in that timeline. If there are different species that are becoming different animals entirely, that process would still be going on. Which means to us, whether or not we've discovered evolution 200 years ago, to any type of species that's evolving, it's still been millions of years. So 200 years ago was still millions of years to any other animal, and yet we still only see the same type of animals all over the place. Now this isn't to say they don't exist. This is just saying I haven't seen them, and I have a huge problem with that. How come we don't have like these six-legged mammals or anything like that? Not even necessarily six-legged, but just different forms of animals. We don't see that. They seem to be stuck in their form. So again, maybe you can show me something, but just from what I've seen in my research, I have not seen a new type of animal arise. Now here's the thing about my first two problems. My first two problems can be solved. Okay, like people could somehow find some way to explain venom to me, and people could explain how somehow one organism or even 12 organisms with one specific mutation could over time overpopulate the area. That could be explained somehow, some way. But here's my last problem with evolution, and that is the absolute arrogance that some of these people have when they understand the theory, right? And what I mean by that, it's not only like the arrogance that I'm smarter than you, but the arrogance to think that you can literally guide human evolution. I'm talking about people like Stalin and Hitler, when they start thinking that species, or originally races, are more evolved than others. Because in a twisted sense, they're right. You can guide human evolution based on the theory of evolution. If you want more white people, you can kill off other races or other species of people, and eventually you're going to get a world populated with a bunch of people without melatonin in their skin. That's what's going to happen. So Hitler, he wasn't wrong when he said, I'm going to kill off all these Jewish people in order to help evolution along. Technically, that is evolution working. That's exactly what's going to have to happen. One species is going to have to become extinct in order for another species, in order to overpopulate the area. Otherwise, you're just going to have speciation, which is different from evolution. And it's a really scary thought, but again, like the only reason why Hitler was wrong was because Jewish people are not technically inferior. That's why he is wrong. Now guys, I understand I could be completely wrong in everything I said, and there could be an answer that I have not found yet. But even if that were true, and you guys can explain the mutations and explain where venom comes from, and where you can explain where traits that are specifically needed for an organism to continue to live, or how they lived prior to it, even if you could explain all of that, there's still the ultimate problem that I have, and that is the disgusting level of superiority and arrogance that the people, or these evolutionary biologists have, or these atheists that they have, that they're just so much smarter than everybody else. They're just so much more intelligent, and people who don't feel the way they feel, forget about them. That's my ultimate problem. Because, and here's a story, here's one story, this is the last point of the video. Here's a story that literally changed the way I view people for the rest of my life. I remember back when I was in 9th grade, there's this one guy, we had like a free period in my PE class, or like my hope class, like my health class, and we had a chessboard, and I was pretty good in chess, and I was whooping everybody, and I was taking them to town in some chess, beat everybody who challenged me. So this one black kid came up, right, looked like he was some ghetto guy from the hood, you know, had terrible grammar, couldn't really speak properly, excuse me. He comes up, he's like, let me play. Right, now I'm thinking, this guy here, whatever. He takes me to town. He whoops me good. Right, just destroyed me. Right? Now, I came back, now I played him a second time and I won. However, that one chess game literally changed the way I view people in its entirety. You know, because one, it revealed the arrogance that I had. It revealed to me that I wasn't as intelligent as I thought I was. I wasn't that much more important, that much more smarter than the people around me. And two, it showed me that just because someone does not sound the same way or look the same way, or just because someone doesn't feel the way you feel, doesn't mean that they're inferior to you in any way, and it doesn't mean they don't have something to offer to you either. Even these social justice warriors I despise still have some things to offer to some people. Most of the time they don't know what they're talking about, but they sometimes they still have a point of view that can actually be beneficial to your life, that can actually change the way you look at life itself. And that's the ultimate message in this video. The ultimate message is you cannot discount people because they don't feel the way you feel. People are not inferior to you because you think you're all that much smarter than them, right? Again, Michaela Maroney can offer so much knowledge, even if she is only probably half the age of that one old Chinese Asian guy. I don't even know. The point is, people have stuff to offer to you in life. Different point of views, different questions, different ideas you never even knew existed. And to discount them because they're not as intelligent as you are, it's not a disservice to them, it's a disservice to you. Well guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's been kind of long, but thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. And guys, as always, if you like this video, please go ahead and click that like button. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. And as always, have a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.
And he set up this to help it, so it doesn't, so that's the whole thing. It's ignorance squared, you know. It's ignorance upon ignorance. So it's like even their own stupid theory still could make room for science, yet they decide to, because it's too hard for their stupid little brains, Anna. That's